news reporter for CBS affiliate in Roanoke, Virginia. In 1973, she was hired by ABC News and reported from New York City until December 1974, when she was assigned to the White House. She didn't stop until she had covered 7 presidents. It would be hard to identify a unique experience in more than 40 years of news coverage, but I'm sure that the one that ranks near the top was her work on September 11, 2001. She was in the press pool covering President Bush's visit to the Florida elementary school when he was informed of the attack on the Twin Towers and rushed on Air Force One. Only a handful of reporters accompanied the president on that flight, and Ann was the only broadcast journalist to witness and report on that 10-hour fly around to protect the president. Ann has received so many prestigious awards throughout her career that I can't even begin to mention them all. She was named into the Journalism Hall of Fame in June of 2000 and the National Radio Hall of Fame in November 2005. Her coverage of September 11th was also recognized in ABC News Emmy and Peabody Awards. And while we can all agree that, the Glencoe Hall of Fame ranks right up there with the Peabodys and the Emmys, Ann is here tonight specifically because she calls Glencoe home. She was featured speaker at the village's 125th anniversary celebration in 1994, and we couldn't begin our 150th celebration without her. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to Ann Compton.
When Anson Taylor took his wife and his baby child and his Scottish heritage and came up Lake Michigan and picked a point in Glencoe that would become Glencoe and said, "This is where I see my future." In 1952, our dad, with his Scottish heritage, Charles Compton, and his wife Barbara, brought our family from the south side of Chicago and said, "We see our future in Glencoe." A few memories from me on growing up in this community. Riding my bike from our house at 210 Park Avenue up Hazel Avenue under Green Bay Road and under the railroad tracks to Glencoe, to Central School, safely every day. And then in the fall, riding home again. Back in the days when we swept our leaves to the curb and lit them, and we smelled scent in the world of burning leaves as we came home. This was a town that gave us so much. I'm the eldest of 4 children. My youngest brother, Michael Compton, is with me. And where did we learn to swim? Right at the end of Park Avenue and the Glencoe Beach. My dad said, "Why would we want to swim in the Skokie Pool when we have Lake Michigan?" And you could go out to the sandbar, and then you could count all those steps to come back up from, I forget now, what, 92, something like that, like the Washington Monument. And then you could stand where Ferris Bueller stretched out to contemplate his day off. And it's now, of course, Stan Schumann Park, another one of the wonderful, very great. Now, I never heard Glencoe called Hollywood on the Lake Michigan. But not just Ferris Bueller, but we all skated on those community rinks in Glencoe, or maybe Hubbard Woods, where Kevin McAllister in his series of Home Alone. Or if you ever go back and watch the movie 16 Candles in the church where I was raised, and if you don't blink, you'll see my dad, Charlie Compton, as an extra in the wedding scene. Or Charlie Compton, years later, sitting outside of the train station where my brothers and I used to ride our bikes up to meet Dad's train coming up from 333 North Michigan Avenue and his advertising job every day. And there he sat with other veterans. A guy named Clint Eastwood, directing a movie, came and sat with him and said, "Tell me, what was it like in the war?" My dad tonight couldn't come. He's 102. And he lives in Evanston, Westminster Place, thanks to Bob Morris, one of my great heroes in this world, former village president. And Dad wanted to send his very best to you. He chose Glencoe so that I could start in kindergarten in Miss Gertrude Slocum's class, and in our basement playroom for my 4 baby girl granddaughters. They sit in one of the chairs Dad bought from a Glencoe kindergarten class. It is still in our home and is used every single day. Now, we call downtown Chicago, but uptown was Glencoe. Rain's Drugstore, Bartoli's. You could buy the most wicked candy in Bartoli's. We drove up tonight in the snow past Olsky's Jewelers. Little Red Hen is still there. Many of you might remember the movie theater on Vernon, where on Saturdays at 2 o'clock, a children's matinee, Dad would give me a quarter and a dime. A quarter was to get into the movie, and the dime was for the popcorn. Not bad. The everything down there, from the North Shore Cleaners, which is still there. Remember Christoph's with an aisle after aisle of amazing 5 and dime. But was there ever any place as magical as Wendy's? In the back on Saturday mornings, where the dads wore those kind of crazy, the plaid shirt and the striped pants on Saturday, and in the back they had great huge trash cans full of fresh grass seed. They had every imaginable hardware there, but they also had the toy store, where I would go in to get a birthday present for a friend's birthday present. And they said, "Oh, no, someone's already gotten that." And my dad told me this morning, he said, "Don't forget to say about that Christmas morning when Barbara Compton called Evelyn Wedeke on Christmas morning." He said, "Wait, Evelyn, I need one more thing this morning from Wedeke." That the community was much more than stores and bicycles, and that I watched the village hall open when I was a little kid. It was the adults who raised the small children, the ones who stood out to me as incredible lights. I must tell you, above them all, the Calhouns, Roland Calhoun, and the woman I call Shirley Goodness and Mercy, one of your honors. They were the ones who took us under their wings and helped us become fine, I hope, fine young leaders and accomplished human beings. And I will end with one little moment, because of all the places on Park Avenue, my favorite was the library. And there's a beautiful reading room where Mom used to get in. I remember that she got Kon-Tiki and Shoes of the Fisherman. She would carry all these heavy books home. But I would go back into the children's reading room, where they had the slanted tables where you could look at all these books. And Miss Jacobs would help me pick out the best books. And the pride I felt when I walked up, put my books down, and with that stamp and the little card. Imagine what that means to a child to say, "You are responsible for these books and the magic inside of them." That's what Glencoe gave to my generation. That's what Glencoe gave to our family. And to stand here tonight with Hildy Wheeler and Larry Whipple, Susan, so many of you with whom I've known you all my lives. For that, even those of us who grew up here, go off to college and go off to jobs at the White House, covering the White House with it, we still come home, and Glencoe is home. To Glencoe and another 150 years. Thank you.